We are back on KindaSound, and I am so pleased to have Daniel Thompson-Mills joining me. Daniel, how are you?
Oh, I'm absolutely thrilled to be with you, Giles. And yeah, it's a sunny day here. It's a mild and sunny day, and I'm enjoying life.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, we've known each other for some years. We've spoken at similar events, and there's that magnetic energy, I think, isn't there, with some people. I mean, all right, there's loads of people on the planet and we want to send love to everyone, but we don't necessarily always gel with everyone in the same way. But you, my friend, I don't know if it's our law background, our environmental background, our writing background, whatever it is, but I love you.
I love you too, Giles. I mean, what can I say?
I don't know. Absolutely. I just
We,
absolutely
we
don't.
always we always have a bit of a crack, don't we, when we're together? A bit of a good laugh and banter. I love that banter.
Yeah, we do. We do have a lot of fun at events. And tell us about your summer. Tell us about how things have been for you this summer.
Well, it has been incredibly busy. I don't think I've ever had such a busy summer, but it's all been wonderful stuff that I've been involved in. I've been to four events where I've not only given a talk, but I've also had my stall there. Of course, we were together at the Shine seminars in August. So yeah, wonderful events put on by wonderful people. And I've also been doing my own presentations with groups. I've been busy in the allotment, and I've still got amazing produce coming out. I pick about four cucumbers a day still at the moment, which is incredible. They're
Wow.
still going strong. Yes, I'm sure there's other things, but it's been a wonderful summer. Yeah, and of course the weather has really helped.
It has, hasn't it? It's been a great summer to get out there. And certainly it's also a wonderful time to get out there when you have just written a new book. And I've got it here. It's called Strep Men Superheroes, a story about the magic of germs. So, Daniel, you are the author of many books, and we're going to get into your writing today in this interview. But what motivated you to create this beautiful children's book with wonderful illustrations? Some very talented artists you've teamed up with. What motivated you to write this book, my friend?
Well, my story is that I had a health crisis um, caused by a significant shock and grief, and that sent my health spiraling into decline. And I reached rock bottom in 2020. Funnily enough, the week that the lockdown was announced, I went into my own personal lockdown. My health just collapsed at that point,
Yeah.
and had a very terrible year then. And I got to a place of great despair. My energy, I was just completely depleted. I could hardly walk, and I was contemplating a life of needing part or full-time care without being able to really meaningfully contribute to the world anymore, which just really saddened me and gave me a lot of depression and despair. Anyway, I'd started to recover back in 2021, and at the time, I really wanted to understand what had gone on with me. Why had I become so depleted? And along the way, I'd been diagnosed with this, what's supposedly, it's related to herpes, the shingles, and that had resulted in me being in hospital for 11 days. Anyway, cut long story short, I was starting to gradually recover from that and gather my strength in 2021. Just, of course, as the whole COVID thing was ramping up that year, and I really wanted to understand what had happened to me. Why had I become so depleted? Alongside that, I was also really wanting to get my head around the whole COVID story. So I started doing a lot of research just to make sense of it for myself. I started writing that down, sharing that with friends, and unexpectedly, eventually resulted in my first book, which is when after I realized that rather than the body being a battlefield as it's portrayed in conventional medicine, the body is an ecosystem, the body is a garden, and we're just a micro of the macro around us, which is a fully functioning, in a world that isn't degraded, but it would be a fully functioning ecosystem where everything's working symbiotically and synergistically to create balance and wholeness. And we're just, we've got all these microorganisms in the body working for us and so on. So I made that realization. I ended up writing a book about it, which was aimed at adults. And immediately I'd produced that, and I was very proud of it and wanted to get that out. One of my friends, who's a home educating parent, said, "Well, this is great, Daniel, but what about the children? We need a book for children as well on this
Yep.
topic."
Yep.
And I felt, oh my God, that just felt completely beyond me how to go about doing a children's book. So I said, well, maybe somebody else has to do that rather than me. Anyway, shortly after that, a story came through. And it's sort of been a project that's been on the back burner for about 3.5 years.
Yep.
But this year I decided, right, I really want to get this up and running.
Mm.
And I put some energy into it, and all the synchronicities just went boom, 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 boom. Through a friend, I teamed up with an amazing illustrator who was willing to put her creative energy into it and produce some beautiful illustrations. And also, I teamed up with a desktop publisher because that was beyond my technical abilities. So, all in all, the three of us produced this amazing book, which I'm very proud of. And as you say, it's a storybook for children. It's about a girl who goes on a healing journey because she is walking along the street with her mother, and a whole black plume of black smoke engulfs them from a very polluting car. And Alice gets contaminated, if you like, poisoned by the toxic bad guys,
Yeah.
cadmium and aluminium particulate,
Ooh.
and they take up residence in her throat. And in response to that, what happens is the body has these seeds in the blood. They're called various names. Béchamp, Antoine Béchamp, who discovered this in the 19th century, and it's very easily observed under a light microscope. He saw these little seeds in the blood and he called them microzyma. And he saw that how, when the body's terrain, the soil of the body, if you like, when it gets out of balance and needs help to restore balance, then these seeds change shape and size, and there's a bacterial phase and there's a fungal phase. And in this case, because we're talking about toxicity in the throat, what's needed is something called Streptococcus, which is a bacteria.
Yep.
So Stretman superheroes come in and they zoom up there into the throat, and they bring their hoovers and their dustpans and brushes and their bin liners, and they get all that toxicity, package it up, and then Alice, the girl in the story, snots that out, sweats it out, poops it
Yep.
out
Yep.
of a system. She goes through that detoxification system. Now, fortunately, her mother understands this,
Mm.
and while Alice has been told that germs are bad, her mother tells her, no, germs are good. They're the body's helpers, and we just need to allow and support the body's process to go through. So she's supported a bit with a homeopathic remedy,
Mm.
and the Stretman superheroes do their job. They go back into the blood, and then they return back into these seeds, these microzyma. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just, the body is so immensely
It is.
incredible.
It is, Daniel. Whilst you are explaining this amazing story, and I've got something to talk about as well. I think there's someone who wants to join us. Juliet. Juliet. Now, Juliet, who also loves Daniel Thompson-Mills, she is, whilst we're recording this here live, she's wandering around the house calling my name. And I think she's forgotten that I'm currently doing an interview, but I know she wants to talk to you, so she might be joining in.
I'll be joining in on, yes.
She might come and say hello. So the strep, these germs, are actually helping us. They're helping this detoxification. They're helping a healing process. They're not necessarily the problem. They're just part of a process to get our body back to harmony.
Well, unfortunately, in conventional medicine, what they do is they see the fireman at the fire
Yep.
and the fireman caused the fire. In this case, the Streptococcus bacteria, because it's at the site of disease, that caused the disease. Well, no, it didn't. So by taking antibiotics or whatever the person might take to kill the bacteria, well, it alleviates the symptoms, sure,
Mm.
person feels better, but the underlying toxicity, the underlying causes haven't been dealt with. And that's what we call allopathic medicine, which is unfortunately what the mainstream medicine is all based around. Um,
Absolutely, and it obviously does have its place, and it does have some wonderful things. If I broke my leg, I'd want the medics helping me, not someone waving a smudge stick at me. But
no,
it's about integrative medicine, isn't it? It's about having the best that all these systems going back thousands of years can offer us, and possibly a more holistic understanding. So just on this, right, as I because we keep this book on our piano. It's just on our piano outside, which is nice. So it's kind of like artwork that's always beaming out. So I just want to tell you, Daniel, and the kind of sound as a little story, which is kind of backing up this fictional story. It's Tuesday. It's my dad's birthday. He's 80. God bless you, Dad. If you're listening, happy birthday again.
happy
And to
birthday.
set happy birthday. Thank you. That's how he talks. So I go around to see my dad, and I said, Dad, what I'm going to do, because I'm helping him in his garden, he's getting on a bit. I said, what I'm going to do today, Dad, I'm going to build you some birthday steps, because he's landscaping a bit of the garden. So I'm going to build these steps. And the steps involved using cement, which is, highly toxic if you breathe it in. So anyway, I'm cementing all these steps in, mixing all the cement and everything. I get back home and I can just feel in my throat. I can just, that it's there. And there's got warning packets on the cement. I mean, this isn't I'm not making this up. You just look at a packet of cement and you can see they warn you, etc. Anyway, normally if I've done a job like this, I go to Ballantyne, the health club. I go to the steam room. I steam it out of me. I was so knackered after working, I couldn't get there. The next day, I feel a throat ache coming on, and it has persisted exactly as happened to Alice in this story. Exactly the same process that I'm going through. So I'm helping myself at the moment, resting when I can. I'm having some nice herbal tea from the garden, some homeopathic remedies I think might be a good idea for me. Going back to the steam room this afternoon and trying to steam it out. But what you've told in this story, Daniel, has exactly happened to me.
Well, it's a very common experience, of course. And the thing is, we need to realize, and this is what I'm really trying to get across to people, is that illness is not a bad thing. It's not something to get eradicate and get over as quickly as you can, so you can become a productive member of society again. It's part of being human, and we all get ill, and we need to allow and support that process. It's the body's healing response, the body's therapeutic response and the body's extremely intelligent, as we've just heard. So one of the first things generally is we need to rest.
Yeah.
We need to maybe do some fasting or certainly slow down and then tune in, to our own intuition as to whether we want some lovely herbal tea, which you're doing, or some homeopathic remedies, or some acupuncture, or or just gentle exercise, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I'm a big advocate of proactive detoxing,
Mm.
because we unfortunately live in a very toxic world, which is getting forever more toxic. And that's not only physical toxins like glyphosate and all the other poisons that are out there, but it's also mental emotional poisons, which are enormous really in our world, all the trauma, etc. So the more that we can actually um, um, be proactively detoxing, then the easier it will be when we do get a particularly strong burst of toxicity like you have. The body will be able to deal with it more. So there's various ways, of course. Fasting is a good one if if you're able to do that, even for short periods. But I'm really into coffee enemas and highly recommend that. So I do one a week just as a maintenance. But certainly if I'm feeling under the weather, then I will definitely do a coffee enema, just to help things move on and get stuff out the body and detoxify. Detox.
Absolutely. I mean, Yogananda called constipation the deadliest disease. And you often find that, don't you? If we have a family friend who tragically recently had a fall. She's an elderly lady and she had a fall and she's broken her arm, and so she's on pain medicine, which is very important for her because she's suffering. But unfortunately, the side effect of some of the pain medicine that can be given can block you up.
Yes.
And then when you're blocked up and you can't go to the toilet, you can't have a poop, then that's one of the chief ways that we are detoxifying. So let's just I mean, with just a little warning here, kind of, Sanders, if you're having your dinner, maybe pause the podcast at this point, or pause the video if you're just about to eat your nice food. But Daniel, talk to me a little bit more about enemas because I don't fully understand it myself. I've never done an enema. I know people like yourself, um, other friends of the show here. We've had guests on who it's like a kind of religious thing that they do. But how does it work?
Well, the first thing to say is that we're very reluctant to think about bottoms
Hmm.
and bowels and things like that in this country, unfortunately. But if you look at traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, they're all about what's going on in the bowel because the bowel is so important for health.
Yeah.
So yeah, so what an enema is basically taking liquid into the lower bowel, um, and then holding it for a time and then releasing it. Now, just doing that with water is beneficial. It's good to clear out the lower bowel every so often. Just have a swish out essentially.
Yeah.
But if you do it with coffee, and you have to do it with the right dosage,
Yeah.
and I highly recommend green coffee, which is unroasted coffee. You can use roasted coffee, but I think unroasted is much superior. Um, so you get the dosage right, you get the amount of fluid right that you're putting in, and it just goes in by gravity. It's very simple. So you can do that while you're lying on your side in the bath. And you retain it ideally for about 15 minutes. Now, if you're not able to retain it for that long, you can build up to ideally building up to 15 minutes. And what's happening, particularly with the coffee, is that, well, we can imagine just generally what the liver is doing is the liver is working 24/7
Mm.
to process toxicity from the blood, put it through the bile and into the bowel, and then be released out. Now, the coffee stimulates the liver to do dumps of whatever it's got in there, and the blood circulates through the body every 2 or 3 minutes. So by retaining for about 15 minutes the enema, then you have about 7 or 8 of those cycles where each time the liver is just releasing stuff through the bile and into the bowel. And
Right.
then, of course, when you go on the toilet,
Yeah.
release all of that stuff, all of that bile, all of that crap is then going down the toilet, which is where you want it to go.
Sure.
Uh,
Sure.
And I mean, it's been so transformative for me. I've
Mm,
been doing
mm.
enemas now for 3 years. I found them extremely transformative,
Yeah,
very empowering because, as I say, if I'm feeling under the weather, I can do a coffee enema and I'll always feel better afterwards.
yeah, exactly. It's some of these natural tools, isn't it? And as you say, in England, we can be a bit more. I don't know. It's like embarrassed about it. You know, when Juliet does her nutritional consultations, it's like one of the questions she'll ask people about their poop. And she says, especially men can be very embarrassed talking about it. I mean, even the Queen of England used to have a poop, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I mean, we're presuming, but you know, I mean, it unites us, doesn't it? One of those things that does unite us. But it's just it's a little, it's a different shift on it, isn't it? It's a different way to look at things. As you said there about illness, illness is a process, is actually helping us. What are we listening to the messages that it's bringing? I think that's one of the keys, isn't it? You know, what is it telling us? And as you said there about resting, I think that's one of the most important healing tools. And I did that this morning. I just stayed in bed for an extra half an hour, and I thought, right, I just gotta. I put some crystals on my kidneys, and I just breathing, and I was just praying and trying to get in that good space, really, because when you just said it, you hit the nail on the head. Well, we want to become better as soon as possible so we can be a useful human being. And that was exactly my thought.
Well, no, I understand, people have children, maybe even single parents, and it's, they've got a lot of responsibilities. And of course, the crazy world that we live in means that people are having to be constantly on the treadmill to pay all their bills and so on. So there is a real understandable urge to just get over the illness and get on with it.
Yeah,
But unfortunately, that will not stand you in good stead in the long term.
for
And,
sure.
and that's ultimately where chronic diseases come about because we're not hearing the messages of the body. You've got to take care of this. There's stuff going on there. Maybe there's some issue, some emotional issue, some trauma from your childhood that really needs addressing. Now, if you just keep ignoring that, it's going to come up in different ways in the body, and and it will just build up to the point where maybe you've got a cancer, and
Yeah,
then it's like, well, it's a big wake up call, isn't it? It's make or break now.
sure. No, absolutely. I
This,
when I used to go away with some of my old school friends, it was amazing how they'd just routinely be popping like uh like ibuprofen or whatever. They'd get up in the morning and they'd been drinking or whatever, and it was just a thing that they were doing. It was like their lifestyle was just like taking pills was just what they did. um
Unfortunately, that is the way for most people. I mean, now I think GPs and so on will say, well, once you get above a certain age, certainly into your 50s, you must be taking statins because you need that for your heart health. It's just bonkers. No, the body does not need statins. um, what we need is to understand that the nature of the body and the fact that it's an ecosystem, a garden, and we need to tend that
yeah.
and look after it and find nourishing, supportive ways rather than ways that are just going to blitz our body even more and toxify it even more, unfortunately.
No, 100%. That's right. Looking after ourselves as a holistic system. So, I just want to give the kind of sound as the website, because if you want to order any one of Daniel's four excellent books, it is dandelionSpeaks.msvr.uk. That is the website. I'm going to give it again, dandelionSpeaks.msvr.uk. It's a fantastic website that you've put together. Absolutely love it. And it's also got on there, kind of sounders, some links to some interviews that Daniel's done. This will go out on YouTube. But there's some interviews that you've done on other platforms where you can possibly speak a bit freer about certain issues than our friends at YouTube. We value you, YouTube. We thank you for being a platform to spread information, but they don't like it up them, do they? YouTube. Let's be frank. So there's some fantastic interviews there, and your books as well, and the talks that you're doing. The talks that you're doing, fantastic talks. That's how we met. Just let's just reverse. Let's just go back a little bit, Daniel, for a minute, because one of the things that I'm fascinated about your journey and how you've learned so much is your connection to nature and how you lived for many years in a woodland, in an eco community.
That's right. That's right.
Can you
Yes.
just tell us a little bit about those times in your life?
Well, it was incredible times. I feel so blessed. Well, essentially, what happened is that for almost 2 decades, I lived in a permaculture community in a woodland, very near to where I am now in Devon. And we were essentially living a low impact, what's called a low impact lifestyle. I actually feel it, that's the sort of term that people use, but I actually feel a positive impact
Mm,
is a better way of putting it, really. We made our own structures from materials from the land and also reused recycled materials. We had lots of volunteers coming in and experiencing community life, experiencing wholesome activities, chopping wood, felling trees, doing all, building amazing structures. And also we ran a lot of courses while we were there. So yeah, I mean, it was a big thing. And just to give you a quick overview, unfortunately, the planning authorities
mm,
weren't happy with us being there, and we did actually have 3 public inquiries, and we're very lucky and blessed, and by 2 planning inspectors seeing the value of what we were doing and giving us each time 5-year temporary permission. And then on the third occasion, we were applying for permanent permission. And just to imagine, we had huge amounts of local support at
yeah,
that point. We had the Devon Wildlife Trust supporting us, the Parish Council, the Dartmoor Society, and unfortunately not the planning committee of Dartmoor National Park Authority, who, anyway, so on that third occasion, we had a planning inspector deciding, and he unfortunately decided with the National Parks case. So that eventually resulted in us being evicted,
yeah,
essentially. I mean,
yeah,
the land. We still own the land, we still do stuff there, but the residential aspect had to end.
yeah.
And that was where all the grief and the trauma came from that I was mentioning earlier.
Wow,
Uh,
wow.
So, and if just to imagine, there were teenagers living there at that point who lived there their whole lives.
Mm,
So it was massive for all of us.
God. Yeah, sure.
But now with hindsight, I can say, well, I feel so grateful for the fact that I managed to live that life because it's so many people's dream,
Yeah,
and we managed to do it for almost 2 decades.
that's
Um, and,
incredible.
and it had a very positive, impact in the world, which I'm so um, proud of, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And let's hope that, as we move on and people want to live in a more environmentally friendly way, that attitudes towards communities like that will shift towards the positive impact that people are having. I lived in a woodland myself, not for as long as you, but for on and off for a couple of years, and the peace and I mean, I learned so much from the trees. They say about meditation and spirituality, and well, the Buddha received his enlightenment by sitting under a tree. So if you're listening out there and you want to receive enlightenment, well, that's a good place to start. Find a nice tree.
Yes. Yes. Well, yes. I mean, when I've been talking about what nourishes you, absolutely being out in nature is is probably number one on the list. It has to be, doesn't it?
It is. I think at 100%, it does indeed. Daniel, we have scratched the surface on your incredible wisdom, and I would love to get you back on Kind of Sound to discuss the subject matter of two of your other fantastic books. I'm just going to give a little. So we've looked at Stretman Superheroes. It's a wonderful book for children of all ages. I've enjoyed it. Bioterrain Medicine and the Nature of Illness. That's a fantastic one. That's one of my favorites. But let's get you back sometime. I don't know if YouTube's going to like us talking about it. The case against man-made climate change. Your perspective as an environmentalist, as you came into this information, is wonderful. I mean, that's a brilliant book. It's an absolutely brilliant book. And then the other one we'll get you back to talk about is the truth of how money is created in the financial system. I know that's something that you talk about very
Yes.
eloquently. So
All in,
let's get you back, I think, and do another couple of shows, one on each subject.
how can I say no, Giles? Absolutely, I'd love to. Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So I'm just going to give you the website again, everyone. Please do support Daniel by buying his fantastic books, going to see him talk, um, cheering him on because he's an amazing guy. You know, at the Shine seminars, and I did tell you, my friend, at the Shine seminars, I was looking forward to seeing lots of people because there's fantastic people that were going to it, you know, to the Shine celebration. Big shout out to Eli, the everyman, if you're listening, Eli. We love you, Eli.
Hello,
You
Eli.
know, he's a great guy with some big kahunas to take on something like that. Laura Eisenhower, love Eisenhower. She's great. She's really great. I was looking forward to seeing lots of people. Don't get me wrong, but the person I was most looking forward to seeing, oh yes, indeed, is Daniel Thompson-Mills. I don't know. I just said to Juliet about it. I said, I don't know why I love him so much. I don't know why I have so much love for him. And what I got to is well, no, I'm not actually going to tell. I'm not going to talk about it on air. We'll talk about it privately sometime. Maybe it's a past life connection, something to do with the Knights Templar. Well, I've said it online. Anyway, I don't know. Let's heal the word, Daniel. Let's heal it. Final thoughts from you, my friend, to the kind of sounders listening out there.
Well, I just wish you all well in your lives. My wish for everybody is that they are able to be the greatest expression of themselves they can possibly be. So that's my wish for you. And let's all encourage each other to be the greatest expressions of ourselves we can possibly be. And then how amazing the world would be if we did that, hey?
Beautiful, wonderful words. Thank you, Daniel Thompson-Mills. Let's get you back in a few weeks on Kind of Sound, and keep it kind of sound, everyone. Don't forget to check out the thousands of episodes that myself and the other Kind of Sound presenters have done over the last 5 years or so. There's lots of good stuff out there. So take care, and let's be the best expression of ourselves that we can be, as Daniel said.